Moktik, now you can start.
Okay, welcome, sir. So, a very good afternoon, everyone. I am Moktik Joshi, co hosting with Siddharth Mishra. Welcome you all to today's insightful and enlightening session on integrated photonics by a respected speaker, Dr. Ghanshyam Singh. Over to you, Siddharth.
Dr. Ghanshyam Singh is a professor at Pardya International Institute of Technology, Jaipur. He is the Secretary of IEEE Photonics, Delhi Section, Chapter Rajasthan. He has worked as teaching research scholar for various periods with Harriet Ford University, United Kingdom, and Kyoto University, Japan. He is a person with very broad experience. We are very delighted to have you here with us today, sir. So I would request you to continue the section. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Will you please allow me to share my screen? I'm sharing my screen.
Yes, sure, sir.
Sure, sir. Yes, sir. Now your screen is visible.
Okay, so you can see the title base, the integrated photonics, which is a technology for next generation communication network.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's totally visible.
Okay, fine. So first of all, let me extend my sincere thanks to Birendrajit Singh and the student volunteers for arranging this talk and inviting me to deliver my lecture on a topic which is quite related to the photonics. I'm sure after this talk, you all will be in a position to raise some queries related to my talk, and we will be able to understand some of the interesting phenomena about the integrated photonics.
Thank you, sir.
I'm
It's
sure
our
that,
pleasure to have you.
okay, so I'm sure that all of you are hearing now, able to hear me, right? So I'm assuming that everybody is able to hear me.
Yes, sir. You're audible, sir.
Okay, fine. So I'll just go ahead and feel free to stop me in between my presentation if you have any queries or any question related to this, or maybe the relevant to the other topic also. You are always welcome to raise your hand and you can ask questions. So here I'll start with my topic, which is integrated photonics. And this integrated photonics is somewhat relevant to the integrated electronics. Being in electronics and communication engineers, I'm sure most of you are aware about the integrated electronics, but now the people are started talking with for integrated photonics, which can be a technology for next generation communication network, because as on today most of the communication networks are actually using integrated electronic based devices, but now slowly people are recommending devices based on the integrated photonics to replace those integrated electronic based devices. What are the reasons that we will learn later on during this presentations. Here I'm Professor Ghanshyam. I work for Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering for my institutes, and my institute is Malviya National Institute of Technology, Jaipur. Since we all are living in a COVID era, so it's my bad luck that I am not able to visit your university, but hope someday I'll get chance to visit your university and to meet you all face to face. So I'll just begin with my talk. So before going into the details of the integrated photonics, let us just quickly review the milestones which have been achieved by the various by implementation of various optical technologies. So if you remember correctly, way back in 1958, the first time the laser was discovered. So we started our photonic journey when we discovered the laser, which was shown into the lab in 1958. Then by mid of 60s, we demonstrated how the guided wave optics can carry the information from one place to the other place. And because of this demonstration, we were able to produce low loss fibers. And those low loss fibers were actually used to make long distance optical transmission possible. And those low loss fibers were produced in 1970. And in the same year, we also invented semiconductor laser diodes. And because of the semiconductor laser diode, it was possible for us to design optical trans receivers. Means we'll have so that we can have the transmitter and the receiver onto a single system. And in between the 17 and 80s, we started using these fibers for our telecommunication networks. And earlier, those networks were based on a technology which was known as SONET, that is synchronous optical networks. And we started the use of fibers for telephone networks somewhere in between 17 or 80s. If I remember correctly, in 1977, the first fiber cable was laid down in US in Chicago to connect the devices, telecom devices. Then the next stage, by mid of 80s, we discovered, or we started the concept of local area networks and metropolitan area networks, and these networks were also based on the use of optical fibers, which were actually capable to do the operation using the broadcast and select architectures. Similarly, in 1988, the first transatlantic optical fiber cable was laid, and this transatlantic optical fiber cable is actually connects the European countries to the North and South American countries. And this transatlantic optical fiber cable first was laid in 1988 and 88, and still we are using it for most of the internet data transfer, which goes through from Europe to US. In the same decades, in late 80s, we developed the EDFA, that is erbium doped fiber amplifiers, and these fiber amplifiers were very much important to elevate the distance limitations, because we started using the fibers for long distances. And as you know, the light travels within the fiber after certain distance, we started losing the intensity of this propagation of light. So that's why we were in a need of some kind of amplifying systems, and for that application EDFA were developed in late 80s. And by late 90s, or from mid 90s to late 90s, we started using DWDM systems also, that is dense wavelength divisional multiplexing. As you must be knowing about the TDM and FDM, that is time divisional multiplexing, and frequency divisional multiplexing. So these two techniques are very popular for telecommunication systems. But when we started using the fiber optics for our telecommunication networks, the multiplexing techniques which we usually require is DWDM, that is dense wavelength divisional multiplexing. And late 90s, people started working on intelligent optical networks. 2000 onwards, we started working on triple O processing. Now, what is this triple O processing? This triple O processing is means all optical processing. Input is also coming in the optical form. The transmission is done in the optical form, and at the receiving side, again, we are getting the information in optical form. So everything is to be done in optical domain only. So nothing is electric or electronic in nature. So that is why we call it as all optical processing. And 2000 onwards, people have started working on to come up with the devices which can actually work in triple O processing mode, that is all optical mode. And 2010 onwards, we started thinking about replacing the electronic ICs with photonic ICs. And the reason for it, because we wanted to work with the smart networks. So 2010 onwards was the last decade was very important for the development of the photonic integrated circuit based various devices, which are actually proving better than many of their counterpart electronic ICs and devices, and they are actually providing a better speed for the networks. So before going into the detail, just try to consider this as an your eye test. I'm sure that you all must be able to see all these alphabets. Some of the alphabets are in capital form and some of the alphabets are in small forms like Y, Z, E, P, D, C, M, micro, nano, pico, femto, A, Z, Y. So what are these? These are the symbols which we actually use to represent two important things for any networks. The capital ones are used to represent the speed of the network, and the smaller ones are used to represent the energy requirement by the networks. Like we have yotta, zetta, exapeta, tera, giga, Mega, that is 10 to the power 6, giga is 10 to the power 9, tera 10 to the power plus 12, peta is 15, exa is 18, zeta is 21, and iota is 24. Similarly, reverse of these would be decimal, centimeter, millimeter, micro, nano, pico, femto, otto, zepto, and yocto. And this yocto is 10 raised to the power minus 24. So with the smaller letters, we represent the power requirement or the energy requirement to work with the devices, and the capital ones are represent to the data rate. So let us try to understand the importance of these symbols. So if you look onto this table, which is very interesting table, which says about the energy requirement for devices which we are used for our communication networks and within the computational devices. Like when you send the data wirelessly, so when we do a single operation for to send our data wirelessly, we are not using any wire, we are just sending our data from one point to the other point without any wire. So how much energy we consume for this per bit? So I am not talking about a megabit operation. Let us assume that we are only transferring a single bit wirelessly. So this much of energy we require to for that particular operation, 10 to 30 micro joules. Similarly, when first time you access the internet, when you start your computer and when you start accessing the internet, the energy per bit consumption is 40 to 80 nanojoules. Similarly, when we send our data over the internet, we requires some kind of routes or the routing processes. And again, for these routing process, energy per bit is 20 nanojoules. So there are many more other operation like reading a DRAM. So what will be the energy requirement for a single bit? If you try to understand the entries given in this table. So last 4 or 5 operation, that is communicating across chips, floating point operations, energy in a DRAM cell, switching a CMOS gate, and the energy consumption per bit for these operations are in picojoules or femtojoules or ottojoules. Means if you go through this table, what you will understand, when we are working with the communications, when we are sending an information from one place to the other place and using the communication outer communication devices, the energy consumption is more. But when we are working with the chip or when we are communicating within the chips, the energy requirement is very less, because now the dimension is picojoules, femtojoules, or ottojoules. That is 10 to the power minus 12, 10 to the power minus 15, 10 to the power minus 18. So energy requirement is actually reduces when we are working with the logical gates, but when we are working with the outside communication devices, the energy requirement is little high. So what is my mean to show this table, that being a student or being a researcher, you can actually classify this problem into two different segments. Like you may decide to work to reduce the energy requirement at the communication level or to reduce the energy requirement at the logical level. So since this my talk is related with the integrated photonics, that is we are going to talk about the logical operation more. So already the energy requirement is less, but even then this energy minded, this energy requirement is only for a single bit. While when we work with the communication networks or with the computational devices, we are actually supposed to work with millions of bits. So in that case, the energy will multiply and overall energy requirement would be very high. So still there is a high opportunity to work at the logical level also to reduce the energy consumption. Uh, this is my another slide which talk about a kind of pressure all the telecom networks providers or the internet service providers are facing these days. So if you see the first diagram, so what you observe into onto this first diagram, like we have a BTS site. BTS is the base transmission systems where from your signal is generated, and there are lot many users are there with each one having a mobile in hand. So each one is trying to get as much as maximum or better signal they can receive from the BTS site. So this creates a tremendous pressure on the telecom network and internet service provider, because being a user, I want a best connection for my cell, or best connection for my device, a best service for my device. So every day the number of users are increasing while the networks remain the same. So there is a pressure on the telephone networks and the internet service providers
Shyam
to
sir, your
maintain.
voice is not clearly audible, sir.
Okay,
I'm
can you
speaking.
hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Hello,
audible. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, audible.
Audible,
audible?
sir. Yes, sir. Audible. Audible, sir.
Okay. So what I mean to say, that every user wanted to receive the best signal out of this BTS tower. So there is a pressure on the telecom and internet service provider that they need to maintain the quality of their infrastructures. Second is just a kind of joke. Two persons are talking with each other. One is losing hair just because of the data loss. He's saying that I am not getting my connection properly, and I am in very much tension, and that is why he's losing the hair. So this much of pressure even the users are also facing because of the network failures. Similarly, the third picture, you'll see there are many people, they are attending a party, but no one is actually talking to each other. Everybody is updating their status using their mobile or the communication devices. So being a user, we always want a better service from the telecom and the internet service provider, but we never thought the problem they are facing just because of our behavior. Because every time we want a best connecting device with us, and most of the times we keep on busy ourselves with these devices by just sending these updating the status, or by just sending the information to our friends and family. So this much of pressure is they are actually facing. The another diagram which talk about the power hungry internet applications. So if you try to understand this diagram, this is a kind of bar chart which shows the power consumption, which is kept on increasing year by year from 2001 to 2020. And these black dots are actually showing the VLSI, the role of VLSI in reducing the power requirements. So you can see, when we were not having the VLSI, if we suppose that we are not having any VLSI techniques with us, then the power requirement was actually increasing in an exponential way from 2001 to 2020. But because of this VLSI, the power requirement, we were able to reduce the power requirement drastically. However, even then, still the power requirement is too high, and this VLSI itself is not able to uh, tackle this power requirement problem, and that is why the people have started thinking about the photonic ICs. Because if we are able to replace our electronic ICs with the photonic ICs, the what would be the best solution we will get? We will get the high bandwidth. High bandwidth means many more operations we can perform within the same range. Best speed, the speed would be more if we are using the photonic ICs in place of the electronic ICs, because as you know the light, because in that case the data will travel at the speed of the light, and we will get a better speed. Immune to noise and electromagnetic interferences. the this is another good thing, because if you are working with the electronic ICs or the electrical ICs, uh, the data may get disturbed with the surrounding noises or the electromagnetic interference effects. But with the photonic ICs, these problems are not will not be there. Similarly, the secure photonic ICs will provide more secure information transfer as compared to the electronic ICs. And the last point is cost effective. However, I'll not say that this is an advantage of using PICs over the EICs or the electronic ICs. Reason being, so far they are not proven to be the cost effective as compared to the electronic ICs, because photonic ICs are very less in the market. So until unless we will come up with more development, with more technological development of photonic ICs, we will not be able to compete with the electronic ICs. As on today, electronic ICs are more cheaper than the photonic ICs. But if we will be able to produce them in bulk, if we will produce them in bulk, then we will be able to handle this problem also, and we will get the photonic ICs at much cheaper prices. So just to summarize, just to have a summary of the pressure which the telecom network providers are facing. Number one is extreme increase in network traffic. So when we say extreme increase in network traffic, every day the number of new users are increasing. Nowadays, earlier 10 years back, there were hardly there was only one mobile in a family, but now everybody in the family is having their own mobile, right? So there is an extreme increase in the network traffic, and the growth rate is 30% per year. If this year we are having 100, the next year it would be 130, and another next year it would be more than that. So the growth rate is very, very much high, that is 30% per year. And to provide the best services by those network providers for increased traffic, they need to increase the requirement of the energy and the cost, because they need to invest money for to improve their infrastructures. And again, this is also increasing by 10 times in a decade. So every decades, every company has to spend almost 10 times of money they have spent 10 years back. Then there are some ecological and economic issues. So these are ecological and economic issues are related with the, like we are hearing about the 5G technology, 6G technology, but again we hear about these, that 5G technology and 6G technologies are not good for the human or the living beings, because they may harm their bodies and all. So there are kind of ecological and economic issues are also going on. So we need to understand these issues also, and to come up with a solution for these issues also. So what could be the alternate solutions to provide the solutions to provide a relief which the telecom network service providers are facing because of the extreme increase in network traffic, the increased requirement of the energy per cost, and the ecological and economic issues. We may come up with the photonic ICs. And how to build the photonic ICs? By integrating very small photonic components onto a IC, that is integrated circuits. So we have already built many photonic components, but now we need to place all these photonic components all together onto a single IC, so that we can actually say them that they are now part of the photonic ICs. So we need to invent component for next generation network also. The benefit would be we will be able to get the high speed, high bandwidth, high capacity signal processing in optical network is possible. So that's why the information will be transferred at a very faster rate. The process would be more secure, more cost effective, and they will be more immune to noises. So let us try to understand the interconnect pattern. So when we use the fiber technology, how do we connect the devices using the fibers? So we can divide them into four categories. The one is the for connecting the devices on a very shorter length, like up to 100 meters. Two devices are apart from 100 meters with each other, so we can connect them with the fibers. And these kind of networks are known as the part of local area networks. Similarly, we can have the campus wide networks also, or maybe WAN, where the devices are 1 kilometer apart from each other, and again we can use the optical fiber to connect them. Now within a single country, like on this slides you'll see the map of US. So all the cities, all the devices lying in on all the cities of the country can be connected with the fibers, and at the maximum the range would be, the length would be 1000 kilometers. And in the last stage, where the length could be 10,000 kilometers, because now we are connecting continent to continent. We are connecting the Australian continent to the South African continents, South African continent to the Latin American continents. So in that case, the length would be more, the distance would be more, and again we can actually use the fibers. So up to this much of length, from 100 meter to 10,000 kilometer, we are already using fiber since long. So there is no problem at all, and we are actually able to maintain the quality of the information transferred at a very better pace. However, when you are talking about the photonic ICs, where the photonic components will be very, very close to each other, where the distance would be very, very less, means that distance may be in millimeter, or it may be in micrometer, or maybe it may be in nanometers. So when the components are placed nanometer apart from each other, then how to use the fibers over there, because so we cannot use the fiber over there, so we'll have to come up with the specialized optical waveguides. Like, so what could be the problems with the interconnect? Short connections are more than the long ones, because we need vast greater amount of information communicated at short distances, right? And we actually transfer the information at the rate of terabits per second across a chip. So within a chip, now you can assume what is a chip. A chip may contains many devices, and each device will contribute for the information transfer process. And because of that, the short connections are more than the long ones, because we need more and more connection to connect all these small devices which are actually lying onto a chip. So the question is whether we should go for a optical interconnection, or we should go for the conventional interconnection which we are using with the copper wire. So for metro and long haul networks where the distance is 100 meter to 80 kilometers, optical fiber is very fantastic to provide the connection. However, to beyond this or to lesser distance, the copper cables are better than the optical. But now the people have started thinking to replace these copper cables with the optical cables, because if even if we are working with the optical devices or the photonic devices which are actually working at a faster speed, but if we are using the copper wire to interconnect two photonic devices, so in that case there will be a speed mismatch, because copper wire will not be able to take that information transfer within the same speed. So in that case, so that is why the people have started thinking replacing the copper wire with the optical wire also. So why optical interconnects for short distance are good and why we need them? Because they will be able to reduce the energy requirement and to increase the capacity of the information transfer. And to understand this in a best way, just try to see on the right side, there is a graph is given over here, which differentiate the power requirement if we are using the optical fibers or optical wires, or if we are using the electrical interconnects. So on this graph, you'll see on the x-axis, the distance or the interconnection length is given from 10 micrometer to 1 meter, and on the y-axis y-axis shows the power dissipation from 10 microwatt to 100 milliwatt. So onto this graph, you will see there are two trend lines. One is the straight one, which is showing the energy requirement by the optical wire. So if we are using an optical wire to connect the devices which are 10 micrometer to 1 meter apart, means even if those devices are 10 micrometer apart from each other or 1 meter apart from each other, the power requirement remains the same for optical wire. So optical wire power requirement would remain the same, but for the electrical wire, the power requirement is on increase, is with a increasing trend, because if the distance is more, the power requirement would be more for electrical wire. So with this graph you can see, if the components are placed with each other lesser than a distance of 1 millimeter or less, means up to 10 micrometer, the power requirement for a electrical wire would be less as compared to the optical wire. So what do we understand with this? If we go with this theory, then we can say if the devices are placed apart from each other up to the this much of distance, 1 millimeter, from 10 micrometer to 1 millimeter, then we should use the electrical wire. We should not go for the optical wire, because in that case the power distribution would be more. But if the devices are apart from 1 millimeter to 1 meter, then we may use the optical wires to connect, to provide the interconnection between them, because in that case the power dissipation would be very less as compared to the electrical one. Now, since we are talking about the integrated photonics, so let us try to differentiate or to compare with the integrated electronics. So what is integrated electronics and what is integrated photonics? In integrated electronics, we have the electronic components which we are placing to all together onto a single IC. Similarly, in integrated photonics, we are placing the photonic devices onto a single ICs. And just to compare these two technologies, if we go back into the 1947, the first electronic transistors was invented. So you know about the PNP transistor, NPN transistor. So these transistors were actually introduced to the world in way back in 1947, and within the span of 7 or 8 years, that is somewhere around 1954. So after inventing the transistors, within the span of 7 or 8 years, we were able to come up with first electronic IC, that is EIC. So electronic IC, EIC is what? Electronic ICs. So after inventing the transistor in 1947, we were able to produce the first electronic ICs in 1954. Similarly, the optical ICs were also introduced to the world in 1969. So we introduced the optical ICs way back in 1969. But if you see the growth of the electronic ICs thereafter was very, very good. But the growth of the optical ICs after 1969 was not that good as the electronic ICs had. So there was exponential growth for electronic IC industry as compared to the photonic industry. Operational, and there are operational and fabricational differences in between the electronic ICs and optical ICs. However, more or less, their uses and their applications are same. Now, very interesting graph is given over here. I'm sure many of you might be knowing about the Moore's law. Now, what the Moore's law says, Moore's law talk about the number of components which we can place onto a single ICs. So Moore's law says that after every 2 years, we will be able to place twice the uh, 2 times of the devices on the same ICs. Means, let's say if I am able to place 100 devices today onto a single ICs, so just after the 2 years, I will be able to place 200 rather than 100. And again, after that 2 years, these numbers will increase to the 400s. So because of this Moore's law, here you can see the electronic ICs, the number of devices per chip. We in 1970 we were able to place somewhere around 10 raised to power 3, that is 1,000 components we were able to place onto a single ICs in way back in 1970. But this trend actually follows the Moore's law, and up to 2010 we were able to place 1.9 billion transistors onto a single ICs, which Intel SRM can be an example for this. If you read about the Intel SRM, you will see that Intel SRM is actually made up of 1.9 billion transistors which are placed onto a single ICs. So that was the progress done by the electronic IC industry. While in the case of photonics, we started having the progress of integrated photonics. Although we invented the optical IC in way back in 1969, but it was in the lab only. It never came into the markets. And as far as the commercial applications are concerned, we started the commercial application of integrated photonics only 2005 onwards. And from 2005 onwards to 2010 onwards, we were able to place hardly 100 or 1000 photonic devices onto a single chips. So here you can see there is a difference of 10 raised to power 7 components to be placed onto a single ICs. So this is a big difference between the electronic ICs and the photonic ICs, right? But the good thing is that the both technologies, electronic ICs and the photonic ICs, are actually following the Moore's law. Both are having the same trend or same slope for the growth. So we hope so that the integrated photonics will also in coming times will go more faster, and we will be able to place more and more photonic devices onto the single IC. There are many companies which earlier were actually not only earlier, they are still producing the electronic ICs, but they were mostly started producing the electronic ICs initially, but now they are also jumping into the business of photonic ICs like Cobra, Philips, Siemens, HSI, Alcatel, Entity, Lucent, and Bell Labs, Metro, Infinera, University of California, Santa Barbara. These are the companies, or these are the research labs which are actually working onto the direction to come up with more and more photonic IC based devices. So what was the initially, why there was an initially there was a slow progress in development of PICs? Because of the fabrication facilities were not available, because all the fabrication facilities were developed for design and development of the electronic ICs, but not for the photonic ICs. Nobody was ready to invest money for that. So there was a fabrication facilities were not available. The solution was also not good economically because initially the cost was very high to build the photonic ICs, and there were some complexity related issues also. But when the photonic ICs growth started taking place, when we invented the semiconductor based LEDs and LDs, that is light emitting diodes and laser diodes, because these two devices can be built on a very smaller scale, on a with very small dimension. So the if we are able to produce LEDs and LDs, so we can actually we started thinking to come up with photonic ICs, and these and the photonic ICs made with use of the concept of LEDs and LEDs are actually useful for communication system, for data storage, for processing and sensors. So I'm sure that you must be knowing about the data center, the cloud computing center. If you happen to visit these centers, you'll see that many photonic ICs or the photonic devices are being used by those data centers and the cloud computing centers, because they actually operate at a very faster rate. So many, you will not find electronic components over there. You will find photonic components more than the electronic components over there. So if we are able to develop photonic ICs, then there are many applications where we may use them for amplifications. We can use them for attenuation purpose, multiplexing, demultiplexing, modulations, coupling, switching, lasing detections. And what all these operations are? All these operations are very important for telecom networks. And that is why I'm saying, if we are able to come up with new photonic ICs, they will actually change the telecom network services, and they will actually provide the next generation of telecom networks, because most of the operation which telecom networks uses, like amplification, attenuation, multiplexers, demultiplexers, modulations, coupling, switching, lasing, detection. So we can actually do all these operations with the PICs applications also. What is the missing factor as on today? Still we are lacking of standard fabrication and packaging technologies, because only the big companies like IBM, Intel, Infinera, they are capable of producing photonic ICs because they have a very good of amount available with them. But not all companies are shifting into the photonic ICs. Still the electronic IC is having a very good market. So again, this is the missing factor, that we are actually in lack of standard fabrication and packaging technologies. I'm sure I'm audible to everyone.
Yes, sir, you are perfectly
Yes,
audible.
sir.
Okay, thank you. Why the PICs are becoming popular day by day? Because they are robust and compact and flexible in nature. So when we say flexible in nature means we can integrate several photonic components to make devices, and then we can use the optical fibers to carry the signal from one PIC to the other PIC. They have shown the reliable and satisfactory performance. They have proven to be more energy efficient network systems. So there is a expectation, not only me but everybody is expecting, that there will sooner or later there will be a shift from electronic to all optical. So either we are going to replace all electronic components with the all optical components, and if not all optical, at least electro optic network infrastructure. So in coming times we will see, even in coming times we will see that our computer will have two kind of ICs, electronic ICs and the optical ICs. Although the people are started working to come up with all optical computing systems only, where you will find all the components of the computing systems will be working into the optical domain only. There will be no electronic part at all. So what will be the advantage of that? Because in that case we will be able to do all the computational at a very faster speed and with a very low energy consumptions. So earlier, 10 years back, it was predicted that by 2020 all optical computing systems will be in the market, but already 2020 is past. Now we are already in 2021, but now it is expected it will take another 3 to 4 years to see all optical computing systems in future. So when I say integrated photonics means I am talking about the planar light wave circuits or the integrated opto electronic devices. Even the combination of optical and electronic devices onto a single chips is also the part of the integrated photonics technology. And in that case, we call it as integrated opto electronic devices. However, again, for the photonic ICs, there are certain technology limitations, like even some technology limitations are also there with electronic ICs. Similarly, we have some technology limitations for photonic ICs, and people are working those limitations to come up with solutions for those. This slide only just gives you a glimpse of growth of photonic ICs, which were primarily based on indium phosphide. So if you talk about the electronic ICs, you'll see, you will quickly understand that okay, silicon is important, germanium is important, there are many more other semiconductors which we are using for electronic ICs. But for photonic ICs, from 1970 to 2010, mm, almost all the photonic ICs were built with the indium phosphide only. So indium phosphide was the base in place of the silicon. So here the slide shows the various components of various devices which were made with the concept of the photonic ICs and the with the base of monolithic indium phosphide. But now 2005 onwards, we have also started using the silicon base to develop the PICs, because if we are going to compete with the electronic ICs, being a photonic designer or a photonic scientist, if you wish, or if you are willing to compete with electronic ICs, you have to work with the silicon platform, because electronic ICs mostly are based on the silicon and germanium, and that is why the electronics are more cheaper, because most of the fabrication facilities do support silicon processing, while indium because you cannot create new fabrication facilities to work with the indium phosphide. So it's better to start working with the silicon based photonic IC technology, so that we can actually use the available infrastructure or available fabrication facilities to come up with new PICs. So I'll just give you 2-3 important differences between the available technologies for photonic integrated circuit. That silicon photonics is also becoming very popular these days. Then silica on silicon. We are also using members of third, fifth integrated platforms, then polymer integrated platforms. So if we start approaching the develop the PICs using the silicon or the member of third, fifth group of the periodic table or semiconductors. So what is the difference? If we are using silicon, silicon is available easily. It's a versatile material, available at low cost and compatible. Why we are using this compatible word? Because already we are producing electronic ICs with use of the silicon. So if we can use the same almost similar facilities to develop our PICs, if we are taking silicon as a platform to build the IC. But if we are using third and fifth photon group members to build the photonic ICs, they are not that much of compatible, and they are little expensive also. However, to produce high power and high frequency application based devices, the third field group semiconductors are better as compared to the silicons, and high light emission efficiency, so we can actually use them for the laser application. So problem with the silicon is we cannot come up with the laser application if we are using a silicon platform. So you'll have to work with the third field group photonics only, like indium phosphide, to come up with the lasing operations. But if you go with the silicon photonics, so what would be the impact onto the integrated photonic industry? Because it has got a very good track record of success. Silicon is already proven a very good, very important material for developing electronic ICs, more compatible with electronic IC fabrication technology. So we can use the similar fabrication technologies. It has shown a good performance, good yield, robust, reproducible. We can produce PICs in high volumes and economically viable also. And high packaging density is another advantage of silicon photonics. The devices which are being made with the silicon platform are already we are using for data centers, we are using for optical communication and for the interconnects. However, the challenges remain still lies with the silicon platform, because how to build photodiodes and how to build laser source and how to integrate the laser sources. So these two challenges are still with the silicon platform. But if we use the members of third, fifth group elements like semiconductor elements like indium phosphides, we can actually integrate, or we can build the laser sources, and we can also build the photodiodes as well. So I'll just skip few of the slides and we'll come on to this particular one. So let us try to understand the difference between the INP based integrated photonics and silicon based integrated photonics. So if you see onto this graph, you'll see on the x-axis the years are given from 1985, 1995, 2005, and 2015, and onto the y-axis the number of components placed per photonic ICs from 1 to 1000, right? So if you see the first line, which is colored in blue with some blue dots, this shows the growth of the photonic ICs which were made with the indium phosphide platform. So initially, the most of the photonic ICs were made with the indium phosphide platform only, and the growth was also good, right? And 2005 onwards, you'll see the another red line with the red dots, and this shows the growth of the photonic ICs with the silicon platform. So here you can see the people have started to coming up with many more devices with the silicon platform, but 2005 onwards only. But what do you understand with these two curves? The slope for the growth of silicon based photonics is actually higher than the slope for the growth of INP based integrated photonics. So it is possible in coming 1 or 2 years that the silicon integrated photonics will cross the uh, Indian phosphide based integrated photonics growth. So with this slide, I would like to tell you that the silicon platform is becoming more popular to come up with the integrated photonic based applications rather than the indium phosphide. There are many companies which are already into the competition with each other, and they are building up photonic ICs like Infinera D10, DTN. This is in a company name. The first commercial product based on the photonic IC concept was uh, introduced into the market in 2005 by this Infinera D10 only, and then 2011, 2016 they have already come up with Cloud Express 2 with infinite capacity engine, and this you can see this Infinera based device you will find if you visit the data center or the cloud computing center, because they are capable to transfer the data at the speed of 1.2 terabits per second. But with the electronic counterpart devices, you'll heard about the megabits per second or at the max gigabits per second. But when you are working with the optical ICs, you are able to transfer the data at the rate of terabits per second, right? So Infinera DTN is another company, is a company which is actually producing photonic ICs. Similarly, Intel and IBM, these two companies are also uh, with the onto the competition with the Infinera DTN, and they are also producing various photonic modules and photonic ICs. The details is given over here. I'll do one thing. I'll share my slides with the Birenderjeet Singh, and he will share these slides with all the audience. So if you wanted to take the details, all the details will be available with my slides. So what could be the next target for the photonic ICs? To get the laser on package using third fifth semiconductors, because as we know, people have started working with silicon platform more rather than the third fifth semiconductor. But with the silicon platform, there is a problem that we cannot come up with the laser operation, or we cannot come up with the photodiodes or detection systems. So rather than using silicon only, we can use the mix of third fifth semiconductor and the silicon. So we'll have to see so that we can actually get the laser onto the package only, and IBM already started working onto it. Now they are also trying to come up with devices which will be able to provide switch to switch connectivity at the rate of 100 gigabits per second or 400 gigabits per second using the silicon photonic technologies only. You will see there are many more other important topics related to the photonic technology which are also good for development of photonic ICs. Like these days, the people are working with the surface plasmons, photonic crystal fibers, the carbon nanotubes, the graphenes. So they are trying to correlate these new emerging technologies with the development of the PICs also. So it is expected that in coming time you'll see few PICs based on these concepts also. After this, I'll just show 1 or 2 slides which is related to the commercial aspects of photonic industry, industry, like the market trends. If you see the silicon photonics, the growth of silicon photonics in million US dollar from 2013 to 2024. Here you can see that there is a tremendous growth is going for silicon photonics market, and most of the applications are only related with the telecom or datacom or the data center or the high performance computing, that is HPC. So these photonic ICs are actually being developed to support our existing telecom and the data communication networks. But most of the PICs are being used at the data center. Here you can see the orange part. The orange part in each bar chart is higher than the other colored parts. So this orange part is represent the data center. So if you get chance to visit some data center, you just go there. You will find many more photonic ICs based concept based devices which are actually providing services into the data center. Similarly, high performance computing. So whenever you need to work with a computer where you require extensive processing of the data, you would be seeing some sort of integrated photonic based devices supporting those systems. Anyway, there are few more, so here I'll stop. I took the help to prepare these slides, and thank you very much. If you have any question, I would be happy to address those queries.
Yes, sir. This session was really insightful for us. We have really gained lots of knowledge from this session.
Yes, sir.
Now, guys, you all can ask your questions.
So I would like to ask one question, sir. Can I
Yeah.
ask?
Yeah, please.
Sir, how can we estimate the maximum power that an optical waveguide can handle?
Optical waveguides can
Yes,
handle.
sir. Yes,
See,
sir.
okay, you have actually asked a very good question. It actually creating 2-3 more questions. Number one, when you are working with the optical technologies, whether you are working with the optical fibers or the optical waveguides, the difficulty to estimate the power handling capacity of the waveguides will actually depends upon 2-3 factors. Number one, the material which we are working with, because optical waveguides can be made with different kind of materials, right? But if we change the material just because of the power handling capacity, then we may lose the information transfer capability, right? So people are actually using silica on silicon, indium phosphide, and even they have also started using the polymers also to build the optical waveguides to transfer the information. So the power handling capacity for each one is different. Number one. The second thing is optical waveguide dimensions. So whether you are going to use these waveguides onto a very smaller distances, because if you are using it within the integrated circuits only, then obviously the power handling capacity would be in few microwatts or milliwatts.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Any other?
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I have a question, sir. Is there any job opportunity in this photonics field? If yes, what are the industry of photonics and how do we get the job opportunity?
Okay, fine. As I said about the Intel and IBM, so if some of these companies are coming to your campus like IBM, Wipro, Qualcomm, usually the BTech students don't get job directly into the photonic domains, because these domains are require little more specialized study. So like as far as the MNIT students are concerned, we have one MTech program in optical and wireless technologies. So we call it as optical and wireless engineering, right? So here the students, after completing their MTech, they have been placed with some of the companies like Qualcomm. The other one is the Texas and the AT&T, and some of the students are actually working into the photonic domains only with these industries. As far as the development and the fabrication industry related to the photonic ICs are not available in India, but many companies are into the design, are working onto to the design task, working with the design task. So if you are done with the PG program with a specialization of photonics, you may find few companies in India as well.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Visham sir, I have one question. So
Yeah,
is
sir,
there any
bataiye.
photonics lab in MNIT?
हाँ, हमारे एमएनआईटी में डिपार्टमेंट में वी हैव two labs. One is the optical communication engineering lab, which is covering the basic equipments only, and that is actually good enough for the BTech and for the MTech laboratory works. Then we have another advanced photonics labs. So advanced photonics labs is actually with that lab we are supporting. We have created the facilities which supporting the PhD student to carry out their research works. So within that advanced photonics and terahertz labs, we have almost all the best available soft and design tools, simulation tools related to the photonic technologies. However, if from the point of experimental views, we have a very limited resources. Although we have a material research centers also where we can actually design and develop up to the waveguides also, but the good thing with us, we have a very good institute nearby to us, not that much near, but Siri Plani, which is 5 to 6 hour journey from here. They also have a very good photonics labs. So we are collaborating with them, and our students do get chances to visit their labs and to work there and to stay there for almost 6 months to 8 months.
Okay. So any research work in quantum computing in your institute?
क्वांटम में अभी हमने स्टार्ट किया है, एक दो स्टूडेंट हमारे दे हैव स्टार्टेड वर्किंग इनटू द क्वांटम टेक्नोलॉजीज, बट वो अभी थ्योरेटिकली कर रहे हैं. अगर आप इंटरेस्टेड हैं तो आई विल कनेक्ट यू विद देम. सो
Sure. I'm interested, sir.
yeah, sure. So I'll connect you with them so you can have interaction with them. So probably they'll introduce themselves and up to how much level they have reached within this domain.
Well, students, among us, we have Dr. Inderpit Kaur, ma'am, Secretary of IEEE Delhi section. Welcome you, ma'am. And we have the head of the department, Hamani Gul Sharma. Ma'am, over to you, ma'am. Hamani, ma'am. I hope, Ghanshyam sir, you know Hamani Gul Sharma, ma'am. She's also from Purnima University here.
अच्छा, हाँ शायद मैं मिला हूँगा, आई एम श्योर.
Over to Hamani. I think she's not audible.
I think ma'am is facing some technical issue with microphone.
Okay.
Sorry,
Thank
sir.
you so much, sir. Let
Sorry,
me
sir.
give
Sir,
a
sorry,
quick vote of thanks to the Ghanshyam.
Yes, sir, I am presenting my screen. Just
Yes,
give
sir.
Is my screen visible, sir?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yes, sir, visible.
Kindly felicitate themselves.
Thank you, Ghanshyam sir, for being with us for this beautiful evening. Thank you for the wonderful session. And my students are delightful to know about the latest trends in photonics and the fabrication of ICs in the photonics sector. Thank you so much, sir. And we also, you can say, welcome you here in the physical mode also whenever the university open. And we definitely meet at one time in the university for this interactive session with the students. Thank you so much, sir. And hopefully in the future we'll be collaborate in the quantum and photonics. You can say in the events and as well in the research purpose also. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Brinderjeet Singh
Yes,
ji,
sir. Yes, sir.
I've just noticed one question. Prachi Pancholi. Prachi, are you still available? Are you in the meeting? प्राची ने एक क्वेश्चन लिखा हुआ है.
Yes, Prachi is there.
ओके, प्राची ने एक क्वेश्चन पूछा है, बहुत अच्छा है कि सर, एज यू सेड कम्युनिकेशन टेक्स मोर एनर्जी देन द लॉजिक्स. व्हाट डज लॉजिक्स मींस हियर? गुड. आप ये मानिए प्राची, मेरे हाथ में मोबाइल है, डिवाइस है मेरा, राइट? सो जब आप कॉल करते हैं तो ये जो इंफॉर्मेशन है फर्स्ट आपके विद इन द मोबाइल इनसाइड, this information will transfer from one point to the other place, right? So we are actually at that time working with the logic, because the information is actually circulating within the cell only, within the device only, and within the device we have many ICs which are communicating with each other. So at that time the energy requirement would be little less. But when the signal goes out of this mobile to the BTS tower, then that BTS tower will search the another nearby BTS tower. Then again, this is also a combination kind of communication. But in that case, the power requirement would be more. So when I say the logic means we are talking about the communication which is going inside the ICs or between the ICs. You got the point?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I got it now.
Okay. Thank you, Prachi.
Hello, sir.
Ha.
Yes, sir. One more question from my side.
Pratik.
Yes, sir. Sir, latestly we seen that the hybrid technology, like combination of photonics and the combination circuit. So the optical fibers is basically deals with the infrastructure of IC and semiconductor devices. But in the power system or in the power field, the power system deals with the electrical power system. So the opticals are beneficial to power system also.
No, I talk about the optoelectronics. Means you will be having the components which will working in the optical domain and the electronic domain. So if you are saying the electrical domain, anyway, the electrical and electronics altogether are same as far as the photonics will see. Every time you would need to convert. See, when your information is passing through the photonic devices, that means the signal is going into the optical domain, right? But when it encounters with a different kind of device like electrical one or the electronics one,
Yes,
you
sir.
have to convert this signal back to the electronic form or to the electronic form. So like you have learned, you have heard about the ADC, analog to digital converter, digital to analog converter.
Yes,
So
sir.
here you would require the converter which will convert optical signal into the electronic signal. And once the electronic signal, the electronic device will do the processing, and again if you wanted to regain the information in optical domain, again you'll have to convert the electronic signal into the optical signal. And that is why we wanted to avoid this kind of conversion, because every time if you do this conversion, you will lose the speed of your transfer, because your data, when it is going in with the optical domain, it is going very fast. But when it encounters with the electronic device, the speed will be little slow as
Sure.
compared to the optical domain.
Yes,
So
sir.
that is why we need to avoid this OEO transfer, that is optical to electronic or electrical and electronic to optical. So
Yes, sir.
because of this OEO, we are going for triple O processing, where the input will come into optical domain, the processing will also we will do in the optical domain, and the output will also be in the optical domain. As on today, what we are doing in our telecom networks, that we are using the fibers, right?
Yes, sir.
Information is going through the fiber, means we are using the optical domain. But what is happening when these fibers are connected with the BTS, that is based transmission systems? So there we have the electronic components, like,
Yes.
so first we need to convert this optical data into the electronic data. So in that case, we actually loses the speed of the data transfer. So what we wanted to do, we wanted to come up with the devices which can actually work in the optical domain. अगर मैं electronic modulator use कर रहा हूँ, तो why can't we have the optical modulator? Like if I am using the electronic transmitter, why can't I have the optical transmitter? So you just name the device, like we have digital logical gates, which is basically electronic ICs, right?
Yes, sir.
So now the people are coming up with the optical logic gates. So everything is possible: optical not gate, optical AND gate, or gate. So the concept of those digital gate would remain the same, but only the difference would be only that they will deal with the optical signal rather
Optical.
than with the electronic.
Yes, yes, sir. So thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, you all are very fantastic and fabulous audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you,
sir.
Brinder. Good
Thank you,
day,
thank
good day,
you.
everyone.
Take care, sir. Thank you,
So
sir.
I'm just leaving the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Uh, thank you. Thank you, Pratik, and thank you, Joshi, everyone.
Thank you everyone for joining us. Now we will be ending our session. So I hope you all have filled the feedback form for attendance purpose. Abdul has shared the link in the chat box. So kindly fill the feedback form.